Good Wednesday morning, everybody. It's beautiful Wednesday morning here in Central Florida. Starting the day off at 41 degrees. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a gorgeous day. Looking to be a high of 71. We won't even have to turn the AC on and anything. We're just going to have a great day. So, I have the privilege of training certified equipment operators as part of my job. Forklifts, all different types of forklifts, narrow aisle lifts, scissor lifts, different types of aerial work platforms, all sorts of stuff. And most of the people that I train have some sort of previous experience, but every now and then I get some with no experience, and some of those guys turn out to be absolutely awesome operators, and some of those guys I won't sign off on their certification. Just depends on how well they do, and I will spend as much time as I need to with them. I've spent, you got classroom training, which is mandated, and then you got the hands-on training, and if they need it, I'll spend a lot of time, 3.5, 4, 5 hours if I have to get them certified. Most people do it in less than that, but it just depends. I always add on to the OSHA minimum. I always add real life things that they'll be doing, especially if there's odd-sized, oversized pallets and containers and things they may not have done in the past. When I started doing that, we reduced our accidents quite a bit. So every little bit helps. Something, the camera caught my eye. And you just have to be patient. Some folks you can tell within the first 10, 15 minutes if they've lied to you or not. And some folks, boy, oh boy, right? I always try to explain things the simplest way I can. And I will go in detail exactly what I'm asking them to do. And I will go in detail exactly what could go wrong. Sometimes, and I had this recently, there are folks that have some cognitive delay. Now, that doesn't mean they can't do it. It just means that they're not going to react as fast as they might need to in certain situations. So you have to work with that, right? You have to try to at least get them to recognize when something's not going right and to stop and to make a correction, or just back up, take a deep breath, and try again, right? But they have to be able to understand that when something is going wrong, they need to stop. And stop means stop immediately, not next week, not in 5 minutes, not in 30 seconds, right now. And every now and then, they might hit something insignificant, an empty drum, a concrete curb, something. Then it becomes a learning experience for them. It doesn't mean they fail right away, but we just work on it until they get it. So the other day I was training somebody, and they had a cognitive delay between the verbal instructions and visual instructions and their reaction. And in the beginning, the first thing they did is knocked over 2 pallets of empty drums. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal because we start with empty drums for a reason, right? So after they've figured out how to operate, driving around for a little bit, getting through a little course and stuff, then we start with empty drums that are just going for recycling or scrap metal, one of the two. And that just reduces the risk of damages. Like, you wouldn't want to start them on drums containing product, right? But anywho, it's not a big deal. Get them to stop, back up, pick up the drums, start over again. And at the end yesterday, we didn't complete the certification. We spent a lot of time on it. But at the end yesterday, there was improvement. There were marked signs of improvement. If I can get that marked improvement, then we can continue on another day or move on later. I had a hard stop where I needed to go to an audit, but I would have gone longer if it wasn't for that. So patience is something that when it comes to teaching, I'm pretty good at, especially compared to where I was just 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but even improves. And I say that because there's a lot of folks out there, and not just the younger generation, but they're a big portion of it, that really need someone to have patience and take extra time to teach them. And I think it's such a precious gift of all the people that took the time to teach me. I mean, I worked for some pretty hard people, and no joke. I mean, I worked for some really hard people, old school, hard people. They had rough hands, a rough demeanor, and a red neck, and they earned all of that. And some people I've worked with said, man, working for that person was just absolute horrible. And I say, the value of what they taught me far exceeds what I had to put up with to learn it. This is my take. Not everybody is going to be cordial or kind or gentle. That doesn't mean they hate you. If they're teaching you something, that is a value you can't get. My stepfather was one of the nicest people at first, and then he got really gruff, but he taught me an awful lot. And he was a hard man to work with and work for, but he taught me so much. My dad didn't have a lot of patience in teaching, but he taught me a lot, an awful lot, that I rely on today, that I teach my kids. When I spoke at my dad's funeral, I tried to get some of that across, but I admittedly was struggling with the right words, but sometimes just getting over the fear of doing stuff. A couple of my kids helped me change my bumper of my truck the other day, and they weren't afraid to get up in there and get dirty and help. And it went pretty smooth. And my daughter was like, Daddy, how many times have you done that? I said, well, it's the first time I've done this one. Oh, how'd you know how to do it? Well, I looked at it and figured it out. Don't be afraid to try. If you feel like you're over your head, then maybe you want to consult some folks. And you've got a wonderful tool these days called YouTube and the internet, and there's some good folks. The people I bought my bumper from had a how-to video on how to change it. And when I was about to put stuff together, I looked at that video because it looked like I had 2 extra parts. Well, I did, because they had mounting brackets for you to use if you didn't have a factory hitch. Well, I have the factory hitch, so I didn't need them. And I just needed to make sure that I didn't need those brackets. So don't be afraid to try. Do some research if you need to. But I guess that's what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to try. And then the best way for you to increase your learning is to teach what you've learned. So happy hump day, y'all. Y'all have a great day. Be positive. Always strive to do the right thing. And no matter what goes on today and how hard you fall, pick yourself up and move on. because we all fall.